Commander Ethan Ward never planned to become a legend. He only wanted to survive another patrol on the cold border of the Zalara Empire, a place where stars felt sharp and every shadow could hide danger. But destiny had already started moving long before he realized it. Ethan walked along the metallic path of Outpost Helion, the last human station before Zalara territory. He checked his wrist scanner, listening to the soft hum of machines around him. The night sky above was filled with twin moons and glowing nebula clouds. It looked peaceful, but Ethan knew peace never lasted long here. Far away, the Zalarian royal fleet was passing through the sector. It was rare to see their ships so close, even rarer to sense their heavy energy signatures trembling in space like thunder before a storm. Rumors said the Empress herself was traveling with them. Ethan did not care much, Empress or not, he only wanted this shift to end without trouble. But trouble came in the form of a warning siren that suddenly screamed across the outpost. Hostile signatures detected, the AI voice announced. Multiple ships incoming, weapons hot. Ethan felt heat rush through his chest as he sprinted to the tower. Outside, the dark sky broke open with blazing red streaks. Unknown WarClan fighters tore through space, firing at anything that moved. This was not a random attack, Ethan realized. Someone was hunting the Empress. The royal fleet moved into defensive position, but their formation broke when a massive plasma blast struck the lead cruiser. Flames erupted in space like a dying sun. The Empress's personal escort ship was hit, spinning toward the nearby moon. Without thinking, without planning, Ethan jumped into the cockpit of a scout speeder. He pushed the thrusters so hard the engine screamed. All he saw ahead was a falling royal craft, breaking apart piece by piece. His mission was simple now, save whoever was inside. The speeder crashed through debris, spinning metal and burning shards scratching the hull. Ethan locked onto the escape pod drifting away from the destroyed ship. Someone inside was alive but fading fast. His scanner pulsed red again and again. Vital signs weak. Ethan moved closer, forcing the speeder to stay steady despite explosions around him. When he reached the escape pod, he smashed open the emergency door and jumped inside. There, protected by a shimmering force field, was Empress Leora Zalara. Her silver-purple skin glowed faintly, her white hair floating like light smoke. She looked powerful even when unconscious. But there was no time to stare. The WarClan ship spotted them and fired plasma bolts straight toward the escape pod. The heat of the blast shook the entire chamber. Ethan grabbed the Empress, lifted her in his arms, and ran. A second blast came, brighter and hotter. Ethan turned his body to shield her, the impact striking his armor and burning through several layers. Pain stabbed through him, but he did not stop. He would not let her die. He leaped back into his speeder and hit full acceleration. Fire spread behind them as the escape pod exploded. For a moment, Ethan thought he would black out, but he held on. His vision blurred, but the Empress in his arms breathed softly. He had saved her. When they docked at the outpost, soldiers from both sides rushed in. The Zalarian guards froze when they saw Ethan carrying the Empress. Their eyes widened in disbelief. A human had saved their ruler. An impossible act. They took the Empress from his arms, placing her on a floating stretcher. But before they moved her away, Empress Leora opened her eyes for a brief moment. She looked straight at Ethan. Her gaze soft but filled with ancient weight. A single whisper escaped her lips. Protector. The word echoed across the chamber. Zalarian guards exchanged shocked looks. Humans whispered nervously. No one understood what this meant, but Ethan felt his stomach tighten. Something big had just happened, something he could not control. Hours later, the Royal Council ship landed on the outpost. High-ranking alien nobles stepped out, their armor shining like mirrors. They did not bow, they did not greet, they simply stared at Ethan as if looking at destiny itself. A tall noble stepped forward and spoke in a deep voice. Human Ethan Ward, he said. By ancient law, by blood, and by fate, you have saved the life of our Empress. The Empire will decide your binding. Ethan frowned, confused. My what? He asked. The noble's eyes glowed sharp gold. You will understand soon, he replied. Every soul in the Empire will rise to demand what must be done. More ships descended from the sky, cameras flashing, citizens shouting from all channels. Ethan heard their chanting, their unified cry shaking the entire outpost. Fated Protector, they called him. Bound to the Empress. Destiny joined. Ethan realized he was no longer a soldier, no longer just a human on patrol. He had stepped into the center of a storm older than humanity itself. He had saved the Empress. And now the entire alien empire was coming for him. Their voices rose across the galaxy like thunder. Demanding only one thing. Marriage. Ethan felt the weight of 1,000,000 stars falling on his shoulders. And his true journey had only begun. The Zalara royal ship filled the sky like a floating continent, its golden hull glowing against the darkness of space. Commander Ethan Ward stood on the landing platform, surrounded by soldiers who stared at him with a strange mix of fear and respect. His chest still burned where the plasma blast had struck him, but his mind was racing faster than his heartbeat. Moments later, the great doors of the royal vessel opened. A soft, glowing mist spread across the platform as alien nobles stepped out, their robes shimmering with star-thread patterns. The murmurs around Ethan grew louder. Some Zalarians bowed their heads at him, others pulled back as if they feared he would ignite destiny itself. 3 royal guards approached him, their silver armor reflecting the twin moons above. One of them spoke in a deep voice, calm but powerful. Human Ethan Ward, the Empress summons you. Ethan swallowed hard, unsure what was waiting for him inside that ship. But he followed, each step feeling heavier as he entered the massive corridor. The walls glowed faint blue, covered in ancient runes that pulsed like living hearts. He could feel the history of the Empire around him. And all of it was pointing toward him. The guards led him to a large chamber, its doors sliding open with a soft hum. Inside, the air was warm, filled with the scent of glowing flowers that floated gently above crystal fountains. And at the center, lying on a raised medical platform, was Empress Leora Zalara. She looked stronger now, sitting up slowly, her silver eyes focusing on Ethan. There was no crown on her head, no armor, just a soft royal gown that shimmered like star dust. But even without symbols, she carried the same powerful presence. The kind that made worlds bow. When Ethan stepped closer, her eyes widened slightly. You saved my life, she whispered, her voice calm but filled with something deeper than gratitude. Why? Ethan hesitated, feeling every noble in the room watching him. He took a slow breath and answered. Because it was the right thing to do. The nobles exchanged stunned looks. To them, self-sacrifice was sacred and rare. To see a human do it for their Empress was beyond belief. Leora studied Ethan carefully, her gaze deep and searching. In that moment, she was no longer the Empress of a mighty empire. She was simply a woman trying to understand the man who had changed her destiny. You shielded me with your own body, she said softly. You stood between me and death without hesitation. Such courage is almost forgotten in our world. Ethan shook his head, embarrassed. I only did what any soldier should, he replied. But Leora leaned slightly forward, her silver eyes glowing. No one in my empire has ever done that, she said. Not for thousands of cycles. Silence filled the chamber. The nobles watched their Empress, waiting for the ancient words they all feared and expected. Finally, Leora spoke, her voice echoing with royal command. Bring the binding tablet. Gasps filled the room. Ethan looked confused. The nobles looked terrified. The guards hurried forward with a glowing blue tablet carved with ancient symbols. Ethan stepped back. Hold on, he said. What is that? A high noble answered him with a trembling voice. Human, the binding tablet is the law of fate. When someone saves the Empress's life, they become her fated protector. It is a bond deeper than marriage, stronger than blood. Ethan froze. His heart hammered in his chest. He had walked into something far bigger than he imagined. Leora placed her hand on the glowing tablet, and it came alive with swirling light. The room brightened as the runes formed ancient vows in the air. Ethan backed away another step, shaking his head. You're saying, this thing decides my future. Leora stood now, her royal strength returning with every moment. She walked toward Ethan slowly, her steps soft and controlled. When she reached him, she stopped just inches away. Her voice was gentle but carried the weight of a galaxy. It is not the tablet that decides, she said. It is destiny, and it already chose you. Ethan felt warmth rise in his chest, confusion battling with fear. He had saved her because it was right, not because he wanted a throne or a title. But standing this close to her, he understood something else. The Empress was not a cold ruler or a distant queen. She was strong, honorable, and carrying burdens he could barely imagine. The nobles bowed deeply as Leora turned to them. I, Empress Leora Zalara, accept Ethan Ward as my destined protector. Her voice rang like a starborn bell. And I will honor the bond fate has declared. Shock spread across the room. Some nobles whispered excitedly. Others looked angry. But none could deny the ancient law. Right then, a deep alarm echoed through the ship. A guard rushed in, panic in his eyes. Your Majesty, he said. The War Clan fleets are returning. They demand the human be handed over. Leora's gaze hardened like a blade. Over my dead body, she said calmly. Then she turned to Ethan. Stay close to me, she whispered. Your life is now tied to mine. Ethan nodded, feeling a strange sense of purpose rising inside him. He had defied death to save her. And now the entire empire was ready to fight over what that meant. This was no longer about laws or traditions. This was about survival, honor, and something deeper forming between them. The Empress had chosen the human. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The royal ship trembled as distant explosions echoed across space. The War Clan fleets were closing in, their crimson engines burning like angry suns. Ethan Ward stood beside Empress Leora, surrounded by guards who looked ready to draw their blades at a single word. The council chamber lights dimmed as holographic screens lit up around them. Each screen showed different regions of the Zalara Empire. Millions of aliens shouting, arguing, panicking, worshipping, or protesting. The entire civilization had erupted because of one thing. A human had saved their Empress. Some citizens cheered Ethan's name as if he were a myth reborn. The Protector lives, they cried. The fated one has come. Others roared with fury. A human cannot bind with our Empress. Break the destiny bond. The empire was splitting apart, and Ethan stood at the center of the storm. A tall noble with glowing red eyes stepped forward, his expression sharp like a blade. His name was High General Zarkin Vrax, commander of the elite war fleets. His voice thundered through the room. This is madness, Empress. You intend to honor an ancient bond with an outsider. Leora turned slowly, her presence cold and calm like a silent moon. I intend to honor the law of my ancestors, she said. And the courage of the man who saved my life. Zarkin narrowed his eyes at Ethan. You, he growled. You are the reason our empire burns. Ethan felt his pulse spike, but he stayed silent. Leora stepped forward before he could answer. If you blame someone, she said softly. Blame the attackers who tried to kill me. Zarkin slammed his fist on the table, making the holograms flicker. The war clans demand the human, Empress, he said. They say he carries forbidden blood. Ethan frowned. Forbidden blood, he asked. What does that even mean? Zarkin glared at him. It means your existence threatens a prophecy older than our stars. The prophecy of the starbound protector. Leora's eyes flickered with warning. Speak carefully, General, she said. You walk close to treason. Zarkin stepped back but did not bow. His hatred for Ethan was clear. His voice dropped to a cold whisper. If the human remains, the Empire will fall. Before Leora could respond, the chamber doors burst open. Alarms wailed across the ship. A guard ran in, breathless. Your Majesty, he shouted. The WarClan boarding teams are breaking through the lower decks. Ethan's instincts kicked in. How many? He asked. Too many, the guard replied. They want you, sir. The room exploded into motion. Guards rushed into formation, nobles panicked, and screens blinked as the ship's defenses activated. Ethan gripped a fallen guard's plasma rifle and stepped in front of Leora without thinking. Leora's eyes widened slightly, a mix of surprise and admiration. You still protect me, she whispered. You do not belong to this empire. Ethan shifted his stance, his voice steady. Doesn't matter. I won't let them touch you. Leora's breath caught for a moment. The ancient bond between them grew stronger, glowing in a way neither fully understood. The chamber's far wall exploded as shadowed WarClan soldiers stormed inside, their armor dark and scarred. Zarkin stepped aside, letting them pass. It was clear now, he was working with them. You set this up, Ethan growled. Zarkin smiled coldly. I do what is needed to protect the Empire from you. The WarClans charged, roaring with primal fury. Ethan raised the plasma rifle and unleashed a burst of fire, hitting the first wave. Guards joined him, energy blades sparking as they clashed with the attackers. The room shook with battle cries, explosions, and burning air. Ethan moved with speed and precision, using human combat strategies the WarClans were not prepared for. He ducked under a blade, struck the attacker's armor weak point, then fired point blank. Two more charged but he spun behind a pillar, forced them to collide, then disarmed them with a sharp kick. Leora watched him fight, amazed. No Zalarian moved like this. No protector in their history fought with such raw, human will. One WarClan soldier grabbed Leora from behind, pressing a blade to her neck. Ethan's heart turned to ice. He ran forward, ignoring the plasma bolts hitting the ground near his feet. He dove, rolled, and fired a perfect shot that hit the attacker's gauntlet. The blade dropped. Leora spun free as guards took the attacker down. Zarkin snarled. Enough, he shouted. He pulled a hidden weapon from his cloak, a forbidden pulse cannon with burning red cores. The cannon glowed, preparing a shot aimed straight at Ethan. Leora stepped forward, her voice sharp. Zarkin, stand down. But he didn't. He fired. The cannon unleashed a beam of red energy. Ethan's eyes widened, there was no dodging this. Leora moved faster than anyone expected. She leaped between Ethan and the blast, activating her personal shield. The beam struck it, shattering the shield and throwing her backward. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. Her breath was shallow, her face pale. But her eyes opened weakly, looking up at him. You will not die, she whispered. I will not allow it. Zarkin froze as the entire room witnessed what just happened. The Empress had risked her life to protect the human. In Zalarian culture, that meant something greater than any law. It meant devotion. It meant fate. It meant the prophecy was real. And now, the Empire would break in half to decide what happened next. The chamber fell silent as the Empress collapsed into Ethan's arms. Guards froze, nobles trembled, and even the WarClan soldiers hesitated. No one in the entire history of the Empire had ever seen their Empress take a blast meant for someone else. And especially not for a human. Leora's shield had saved her life, but barely. Her breathing was weak, her skin glowing in soft, unstable pulses. Ethan held her gently, his voice shaking. "Stay with me, Leora," he whispered. "You're going to be fine." Her silver eyes fluttered open. She managed a faint smile. "You still protect me," she breathed. "Even when death stands one step away." Ethan swallowed hard. "You protected me first," he said. "Guess we're even now." But he knew they weren't even. Something deeper tied them, something ancient and bigger than both of them. Zarkin stood frozen, his weapon trembling in his hand. He had expected Ethan to die. He had not expected the Empress to throw herself into the path of the blast. The guards turned on Zarkin instantly. "Seize him," Leora commanded weakly. Her voice still carried royal weight even in her fragile state. Zarkin tried to escape, but Ethan stepped forward and delivered a swift strike to his arm, disarming him. The guards pinned him down, his armor scraping the crystal floor. His rage echoed across the chamber. "You cannot stop destiny," he growled. "You cannot let the human live." Ethan tightened his grip on his plasma rifle. He wanted to end Zarkin right there, but Leora touched his arm softly. "No," she whispered. "His fate will be judged by the Empire." Her hand lingered on Ethan's wrist longer than necessary. Her fingers trembled but did not pull away. The bond between them glowed again, soft and warm. Everyone in the chamber felt it, a wave of ancient power washing through the air. The binding had begun. Leora needed medical attention, and fast. The guards placed her on a floating stretcher, but she refused to let go of Ethan's hand. "Stay," she whispered. Her fingers tightened around his. "Do not leave me." Ethan nodded. "I'm right here," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." The medical wing of the royal ship opened with bright blue light. Machines hummed as they scanned her injuries. He stayed by her side as healers worked, his heart heavy. He felt a strange anger, a fire he had never felt before. Not anger for war, not anger for danger. This was personal. Someone had tried to take her away. And that was something Ethan could not forgive. Hours passed in silence. Ethan sat beside her bed, his armor scorched and stained. He didn't sleep, didn't blink, didn't move. He simply kept watch. Late into the cycle, Leora stirred. Her voice was soft, barely more than a breath. "Ethan," she said. "You did not leave." "I said I wouldn't," he replied, his voice steady. "I'm here." She studied his face, her eyes glowing like starlight. "You saved me twice," she whispered. "No protector has ever done that." "I don't care about titles," Ethan said. "I just care about you." Her eyes widened gently, not in shock, but in something deeper. Something warm, something dangerous, something destined. She reached out her hand, and Ethan slowly took it. Their palms touched. The runes on the walls lit up instantly, glowing with ancient fire. The healers gasped. "It's happening," one whispered. "The star bond is forming." A soft wind rose inside the room, swirling with silver light. It wrapped around Ethan and Leora like threads of cosmic silk. The ship trembled as if the universe itself was watching. Leora looked at him with a mixture of fear and hope. "This bond," she said quietly. "It will change everything. It means our lives, our paths, our fates, are now one." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "I don't know what the future holds," he said. "But I'll face it with you." Her breath hitched. A soft glow surrounded both of them as the bond strengthened. In Zalarian tradition, this glow meant something only one word could describe. Destined mates. But before the moment could settle, alarms blared again. A guard burst into the room, panic in his eyes. "Your Majesty," he shouted. "Half the Empire celebrates the bond, but the other half sees it as betrayal. Rebel fleets are forming." Leora's expression hardened. Ethan stood up instantly, ready for whatever came next. The guard swallowed and continued. And the war clans. They have one message. Ethan stepped forward. What message? He asked. The guard's voice shook. They say the human has stolen the Empress. And they will burn the stars to get her back. Ethan's fists tightened. This was no longer just about fate, marriage, or tradition. This was about war. A war that was coming for both of them. Leora sat up slowly, her voice calm but filled with fire. Then we will face them together, she said. And the bond between them glowed brighter. A love written in the stars. And a storm rising to challenge it. The royal ship drifted through the dark ocean of space like a wounded beast. Its shields were cracked, its hull scorched, and its alarms echoed non-stop. Outside, rebel fleets gathered like storm clouds preparing to strike. Inside, the Empress and the human stood side by side, refusing to bend before destiny's fire. Ethan Ward tightened the straps of his armor, the blue lights glowing faintly across his chest. He looked at Leora, who stood tall despite the exhaustion in her body. Her silver eyes shimmered with a mix of strength and emotion. In that moment, she looked less like a queen of an empire and more like a warrior walking into fate. You should rest, Ethan said softly. You're still hurt. Leora shook her head gently. My people stand on the edge of war, she replied. I cannot lead them from a bed. But they are fighting because of me, Ethan said. Because I saved you. She stepped closer, her voice warm. They fight because they fear change, she whispered. And you are the greatest change our empire has seen in 1,000 cycles. Ethan held her gaze, feeling the bond between them pulse like a heartbeat. The ancient thread that tied their souls together shone brighter with every breath. He knew now that nothing could break it. Not tradition, not prophecy, not fear, not even war. A holographic screen lit up suddenly as the council requested urgent contact. Nobles appeared on the projection, some terrified, some furious, some desperate. Your Majesty, one shouted. The rebel factions have united. They demand the human be surrendered, another noble added. They say only then will peace return. Leora lifted her chin, her voice sharp like starlight. I will never surrender him, she declared. He saved my life. He earned his place. The nobles murmured anxiously. But the empire is dividing, one said. And the war clans march with fire. Leora turned to Ethan, her eyes soft but unshakable. There is only one way to stop this war, she said quietly. We must complete the bond. Ethan froze for a moment. You mean? Yes, she whispered. The sacred joining. The royal marriage. Silence passed between them, deep and powerful. Ethan felt his heart race, but not with fear. It was something else. A pull he could not deny. I'll do it, he said. Not because of the empire. Because of you. Leora's breath trembled. For the first time, she looked vulnerable. I feared you would refuse, she whispered. I feared destiny would take you away from me. Ethan reached out and gently touched her cheek. I'm right here, he said. And I'm not leaving. The nobles were stunned. The guards knelt. The bond between human and Empress glowed so bright the entire chamber lit up. But before the ceremony could begin, the ship shook violently. Alarms screamed across the halls. The WarClan armada had begun their assault. Explosions burst along the ship's hull, jolting everyone to the floor. Ships locked onto the royal vessel with red targeting beams. The rebel fleets aimed their cannons at the throne world below. The galaxy was ready to burn. Ethan grabbed Leora's hand, pulling her close as the floor rocked beneath them. We don't have time, he said. They'll destroy everything. Leora nodded, her voice steady. Then we give them something even they cannot deny. The royal ceremony hall opened its massive doors, revealing a sky full of fire and chaos. Despite the danger, priests and guards moved quickly, preparing the ancient platform. The binding tablet glowed on its pedestal, waiting for the final vow. Ethan and Leora stood at the center as explosions flashed around them like thunder. Rebels boarded the lower decks, fighting guards who refused to let them pass. But nothing could stop the ritual now. The high priest stepped forward, holding the ceremonial staff. "Speak your vows," he commanded. "Bind your fate, and let the stars judge your truth." Leora placed her hand over Ethan's heart. Her voice trembled with intensity. "I choose you, Ethan Ward," she said. "Protector of my life. Defier of death. Bearer of courage no soul has shown in ages. With this bond, I join my destiny to yours." Ethan stared into her glowing eyes. He had fought monsters, soldiers, war clans, traitors, and fate. But nothing felt more powerful than this moment. "I choose you, Leora," he whispered. "Not because of the prophecy. Not because of the law. Because you are worth protecting." A radiant burst of silver-blue light exploded from the binding tablet. Winds swirled around them, lifting their hair and robes. The runes on the walls ignited, pulsing with ancient fire. The galaxy itself seemed to pause. Outside, cannons fell silent. War-clan ships froze in place. Rebel fleets stopped their advance. Because everyone could see it. Across every screen, every channel, every battlefield. The bond was complete. The Empress and the human were now joined. Destined partners, rulers of fate, united in the light. A deep voice echoed through every ship and every world. The system AI announced. The star bond is sealed. The protector is chosen. The rebels lowered their weapons. The war clans went silent. No one dared defy a completed cosmic bond. Ethan and Leora stood together, hands clasped, their bond glowing with unstoppable power. The high priest bowed deeply. "Long live the Empress," he declared. "And long live her protector." Cheers erupted across the empire, spreading like wildfire. Billions celebrated the union. The prophecy had come true. Leora turned to Ethan, her voice warm. "The galaxy knows," she whispered. "We are one now." Ethan smiled softly, pulling her closer. "Let them come," he said. "Together, we can face anything." And as they stood united under the blazing stars, the empire became stronger. The galaxy became quieter. And a new legend was born. The legend of a human who saved an empress. And won the heart of an entire civilization.